One of our next guests identifies primarily as a theatre actor and has been performing on stage for the last 2 decades. The other guest has, in the last 5 years, made quite a name for herself on stage and on screen. We are very happy to have with us Abhishek Saha and Zayn Khan. Abhishek Zayn, welcome to the show. Welcome to this episode of Unscripted with AK, which is unscripted like my life and most of my plays.
Plays, I was going to
Yes,
say.
exactly. You've been victims of that, have you, at some point? Look at him
Not enough
nodding
number of times.
sagely over
No,
there.
just not
yeah.
not enough.
yeah.
See,
Uh,
let's use this as a soft pitch to be cast again also.
Sure, this is actually the plan. This is the formal version of Casting Couch with Amay and Nipun.
Excellent.
So,
Excellent.
yeah. In fact, when Nipun came on the show, I kind of tried to seduce him into casting me.
Oh, lovely.
So I just
Did it
turned the
work?
tables on you know.
Okay.
He's stopped replying to my messages. So I think it's backfired. So okay, just to warm up, and this is something that we kind of do. So when Adyam got in touch with me and we spoke about doing this podcast, I mean, I think one of the main things for me was, and also I think because in the pandemic everybody did an Instagram live interview, and it was just like the obvious questions were all asked, and so what we can find on Google and Bard and Chat GPT, we don't want. We want to talk about things that we don't
Oh,
find.
great. So then
So,
that's fine
it's-
because on Google you can't even find that we're married. On Google I have married Akash Mohiman.
Which is, how does he feel about that? So,
He got calls from the press.
well, I mean, it's better than the Wikipedia saying Dilshad Khurana is my sibling.
Oh my God,
That's a bit too Freudian for
Yeah,
our
that
life,
it's a
I'm
bit
sure.
like, I mean, I mean, she's played like my brother's lover on stage, but just a sibling was a hard one.
So
and
this is also a good time to just announce that like nothing on Google is necessary.
it's not true.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
It's all
So
alternate
anyway,
realities.
we want to kind of delve into stuff that we probably won't hear in the other interviews that you give in the press, with the nice photographs and all of that. But so actually, what I want to one at a time, of course, is something that I start everybody with is that from wherever you began and the early days from the roots, the journey to the stage. How did that happen? Like, how did you actually? You're not from Bombay to begin
No, I'm
with.
not.
You're from.
I grew up in Baroda,
But there's a Calcutta part of
but
your
I
life.
always
is-
say in Gujarati, I always say हूँ गुजराती छूँ गुजराती नहीं.
nice.
Which means I'm from Gujarat, I'm not
I'm
Gujarati.
not, and you were in Chennai for a very long time, but you were
I was in Chennai for a short period of time, which
Okay.
just feels long because of
because you
how
love it that
much
much,
I
and
extended.
you talk
Yeah.
too much about Chennai. But you originally from Bombay, was it?
I'm originally from Bombay. I've grown up in Kunur
Yes,
in the
of course.
mountains.
Yes.
And then I went to Chennai for college, which was a very formative time, I think.
So your theatre journey started in college,
In college,
not
yeah.
in Kunur. There was.
I did some, but I don't think I was either taking it seriously or, I mean, I was in school.
So how did
thinking
that
much
come
about
about? How did you find as we say, when did the kida happen? Like, what was that?
The Kida happened when I was on stage,
Okay.
actually.
You got conned into being.
I
on
got
stage.
conned into being on stage.
Nice.
I was very sure about the fact that I did not want to be an actor.
How nice.
I
Okay.
was very sure about the fact that maybe I wanted to produce or I wanted to direct and I wanted to write. That's what I wanted to do. And my seniors in college kind of, I don't know, they assumed that I could act. And they conned me into doing a workshop audition for our college play. Then I left halfway to watch Desi Boys because I was like, I'm not interested
Which,
in being an actor.
one does, I suppose.
Which
So-
one does.
Yeah, so
But I guess they saw something and they took me in the play anyway, which I'm very grateful for because that
This
was
was
bad.
importance.
Huh?
Importance of-
of being honest. And it was one of the most, actually, probably the most beautiful experience of my life. The theater building that happened, the team building that happened, the way we made that play was so incredibly beautiful that by the time I was on stage, I had already had a wonderful time.
nice.
And then once I was on stage and things started to come to me very naturally, I seemed to.
This is, you were in school though.
I was in
This-
college.
okay, in
This is my
college.
first year
Okay,
of college
Okay.
in Chennai.
Okay.
And once I was on stage, things started coming to me a bit naturally. Like I was very comfortable with the fact that there was an audience there. I seemed to know when to cut the audience off when they were laughing. And this is the first time really that I was in front of an audience. I seemed to be getting a hang of these things fairly naturally. And I was like, wait a minute, is this
The
what I
bug.
want to do with my life? is this what I want to do?
And then did you carry forward on that in Chennai itself? Or?
So I did a lot of theater when I was in Chennai, but my family does film,
Yes.
and my family is very discouraging of people being actors
Oh, nice. Okay.
because they feel like it's a really tough.
Or because there's too many in the family.
That
So-
though they
so-
definitely feel they're like not one more actor, but they feel like it's a very tough profession on you, like spiritually, emotionally, mentally as a
Right.
person. It's a really tough thing. So ideally, they're a bit like, don't do this. Why don't you do something else? So it was a tough one to bring to my family and say, no, actually, this is what I want to do.
Nice. And what about you? How did that happen for you?
I don't know if school theater counts in the conversation that you are trying to have, but it started in school for me.
No, as in it's also just where you discovered that, you know, I mean, so-
this is a story that most close friends know, and I'll say it out loud at least once right now. Is that in the year 2000 when Kahuna Pyare released, I fell very madly in love with Amisha Patel. Puberty
Nice.
had just happened,
Sure.
and it was a very strange kind of feeling because I was in love. It wasn't just hormones talking.
You were
It wasn't
in love with Amisha Patel.
with the idea of Amisha Patel, with the idea of wanting to meet her someday, and the very strong decision was to not meet her as a fan because there are millions of them. And so, if I want to be noticed by her, I need to meet her as an actor, as a co-actor.
You became an actor because
So
of Amisha Patel.
it's where the idea
I don't know if
started.
anyone else can ever claim
Is
this.
where the
but- so-
idea started.
Okay.
And so in 10th grade, this happened in the vacations, I remember. In 11th, for the first time, I used to always be a dancer in school, otherwise,
You're
group
very
dancing.
young, man. Okay. Huh?
Yeah.
So-
I was 14, 15.
so
So when I went to 11th grade, first day of school, I went to my drama teacher, who I knew because in annual functions, he would see me dance in group dances. And I said, I want to act this year. And he said, you've never acted. And there was a established lead actor in the class who used to be given all the plays that happened every year also as a part of our annual concerts. And he said, okay, this year we're trying to do a mega, like a epic Indian mythological / old kingdom story. So like they were doing an entire Sanskrit epic basically, in which I read for Ashoka. And I got
this
cast.
is school in Baroda.
11th grade in Baroda called Shaishav
Okay.
School.
Okay.
So I got cast as Ashok, and for some reason, my sister was playing Ashok's sister, and it was across age groups. So, like from 11th grade all the way down
All
to
the
first
classes,
grade.
yeah.
And all the dances are also part of this great epic. So, I am for the first time now acting, and I don't know what happened. And there's many ways to rationalize, but it consumed me in the sense that I became, again, I'm not very method in life, but I refused to acknowledge anything other than being called Ashok in class also. So much so that my
I don't know
biology
what this
teacher,
podcast is doing for you. As in-
my biology teacher came and yelled at me for a journal that was not complete, and I stood and I took the yelling, and at the end of it, in front of the whole class, and the end of it, I said, "Bharat Samrat Ashok प्रसन्न नहीं हुए कि आप उन पे चिल्लाई हैं." And she cracked up
This
because
is in the 11th standard.
yeah, and she's livid. She's red. She was known to like hit if she has to.
She's not the problem in this story.
She walked out laughing and said, "Come to my office." And I never got reprimanded. So there was a sense of, I really like this. I like becoming someone else. And I think when I came to Bombay to do college, the idea was to try and do acting. I did not know theatre. I didn't, at this point, I will be honest to say, I was ignorant to the fact that adults act in theatre. I
Right.
didn't know that as a concept.
Right.
So I came here, I met my college professor. I said, this is what I want to do. Education is secondary for me. I'm not really interested in academia, but can you help me? And this was the English department, literature department. So they put me in touch with Quasar for
Right.
great text readings back then, which used to be 4 people in Dolly Thakur's house.
Yes,
And I
yes.
went for that. And the first time I met theatre people. And through some of those conversations, I got backstage in a play called Chotu, which was Joy Fernandez for Summertime Prithvi Festival 2004.
I see.
Horrendous backstage experience in the sense that I don't think I'm cut out for it. It needs organizational skills. I have none. It needs you to be able to like remember things, list things, provide things, all of those zilch in my understanding of self. So it was terrible, but I got to stand in for all the actors
Right.
and that it cemented. And straight from there, Anshuman Jha, who was in Chotu Speaking, it was called, cast
Chotu
me in
Speaking, I
Chotu
remember
Speaking.
this, yes.
He cast me in Mr. Colpert, which was Thespo 2005.
Yes.
So it literally then from there on, every play led to the next play, and till date is how things have happened. Now, thankfully, enough people know that it doesn't have to be a prior play, but everything that I did for the first 5 years or so, this is 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8, while I was still in college, was through Chotu Speaking backstage. So that's how it bit me. And I still, when people ask me, what do you do? I like to say I'm an actor, primarily theatre.
So you came to Bombay to
become
become
an
an
actor.
actor.
Yes.
When I ran into you in Bombay, which is before I knew that you were an actor, you were a casting assistant at that point of time, and I believe you were also assisting. You were being an
I
assistant
had
director.
assisted.
So your move to Bombay happened because family was here,
I
and
mean, yeah, I always, the first 11 years of my life, I lived in Bombay. So even when I lived in Kunur, I was like, this is not where I'm from. When I moved to Chennai, I think that changed quite a bit because I
no, but
started feeling
considering you
that.
had discovered the love for being on stage and stuff like that, and then you came here, but you wanted to try your hand at other stuff. You're not following acting actively,
Okay. I was incredibly depressed at that point. So I cannot say that I was like going at something very specifically. I knew I wanted to be an actor. I had not even admitted it to my family when I moved back to Bombay. It just seemed like the right thing to do because I am from Bombay.
right?
So I came back here as a more natural thing. Only after a whole year of being depressed did I manage to like say it out loud to my family, listen, this is what I want to do. I want to be an actor. And then started taking steps in
No,
that
but so
direction.
no, but why casting assistant and why assistant director? Were those ever things you really wanted to follow, or were they just filling the time?
No, actually, they just kind of happened without my having planned them. Um, I was supposed to go to drama school in New York, um, and that didn't happen
Okay,
because my dad, in the most dramatic way possible, um, said, why would you go abroad and study drama? As it is, you are so disconnected from the Hindi language, from what is real, like heartland India. Do you really want to go abroad and study acting and get disconnected further? I don't think you should do that. I think you should stay back. I think you should learn on the job. I think you should be here and work here. Of just a few days after he said that, Shakun Batra was making Kapoor and Sons
yes,
and shooting in Kunur, and
yes,
I happened to meet him. And he asked me how things were going. I said, "Oh, I was supposed to go to drama school. It's not happened." And he said, I'm making this film, and I'm actually making it in Kunur. You're from Kunur. Do you want to assist me? Do you
assistant,
want to be on the project?" And I said, "Yeah, okay, cool." So I joined that. Then Amr Khan Productions happened to be making a film that they wanted to green light, so I ended up joining that team. And then Advait Chandan, who was directing that was Secret Superstar.
right?
I told him, listen, Advait, what am I doing? I really want to be an actor, and I love production and I love being an AD. But if I don't push myself out of this space and give myself the time to be an actor, and give myself the space to be an actor, I'm never going to be able to do it.
Right,
So he actually very kindly got me in touch with Shanu Sharma
right.
and sent me to meet Shanu, who basically said, come in from tomorrow, you can start giving cues to people, see what it takes to really be an actor in this industry.
Right.
I think she thought that maybe I did not know what it took, and I didn't.
But tell me, of course, Chennai happened. You wanted to be on stage. When did you kind of realize that you actually wanted to act on screen? Was that a natural progression? Was there ever an ambition? How did that happen?
I can't remember. It must have been a natural progression. It must have felt like, yeah, that'll come at some point. My granddad passed away when I was really young, and I think that was a sort of connection that I had always wanted to make with him.
Right.
Film was always a direction that I was going in terms of writing, producing, directing is what I originally wanted to do. So film was always on the cards. Being an actor in film came later because I did theater.
So both of you started off on stage as it happened. You wanted to actively be on screen, I would assume.
I
When
didn't know what I wanted
so,
at that point,
as
but the
in
more
because
I did,
Amisha would notice you if you were doing films,
correct.
right?
So yes, the 15-year-old me,
Just
yes,
wanted to be in
yes,
films, right?
yes.
And she didn't necessarily, but she eventually made her way there. I wanted you all to talk a little bit about your relationship with acting for the screen.
For the
How's that
screen
been? How's
specifically.
that been? Yeah, because I mean, stage we've spoken about, but how's that been? How's that transition been? And we'll dig a little deeper because I mean, like she's doing a lot of work there
Yes.
now. You did a little, and then there was a hiatus, and now again you're doing work for the screen, which
Ye-
is kind of like a resurgence after a while.
Sporadic, I
It's
would say,
it's
yes.
among the great comebacks
Sure.
in our history, but
That the two of us are aware of,
but
barring
but
one.
what's it been like? What's that journey been like? A little bit about your relationship with the screen. How does it feel? You can start if you like. What so?
Go for
You
it.
go.
Okay,
I love it. Initially, it was a
more than
little,
the stage.
huh?
More than the stage.
I'm definitely enjoying it more than stage at the moment because I feel like I've done so much stage. This feels new and different and exciting and I have to figure stuff out.
And the toll it takes.
That is why I send you messages like, "Thank you for saving my life. Thank you for saving my soul. Thank you for." I
Whose
sent
number
you.
do you have?
I sent
Who
you
are you
these
sending these
messages.
messages to? Who's getting
Saying
them?
thank you
Are you
for.
sending them to my dad?
I've sent you these messages literally in the last 3-4 months. No, I love working in film. Initially, it was a little. Uh, it took me some time to figure out where the difference is in between theater
In terms of the
and
craft?
film. Not just in terms of the craft, although yes, also in terms of the more day-to-day working of it, which is that you are waiting for long hours. You're not doing it chronologically. You're waiting for long hours. You're waiting for like 12, 14 hours to do sometimes maybe just an hour of
Yes,
work.
of course.
How do you conserve your energy for that long to
Right.
make sure that you are 100% on when the camera is in front of you?
Right.
So it was stuff like that that actually it took me some time to be able to get a grip of, and
Sure.
now I really love it, and I think I'm playing a lot more now.
Nice. You've had a slightly more turbulent relationship with the
With
screen.
acting for screen.
Yes.
I'm sure turbulent might be a way to put it. I think
I mean, because you had great success in a series that you did, and then you didn't want to do any more of that. So,
yes.
which we'll talk about at some point in time,
Sure,
I'm sure.
but
So,
my thing with screen acting is it the real struggle in screen acting seems to be, from my perspective, in getting screen acting, as
in being
opposed to,
cast.
yes, in
Okay.
finding your way into the multiple layers that exist before you get to then experiment with the form, with the part, with the character. In stage, again, I'm possibly fortunate in speaking from a place of privilege because I've had the chance to work with a lot of contemporary and slightly older
Yes.
directors. Like I
Yes.
worked with Dubeji when I was 22 years old. Not
Right.
a lot of people necessarily can
Can
claim
claim
that.
that. Yes.
And the kind of refinement that comes. And so I always say selfishly, on stage I have played a Tibetan boy, I have played an African American absolute slum dweller, I have played young on stage, I have played really old. My current play, I play 90 on stage. The stage offers me a very, very wide variety of experiences,
Right.
which screen may or may not. Generally, to me it doesn't. With screen, what does come though is, again, being is experiences that stage won't offer. On stage, if I'm playing a boy who's stuck in the mountains, I am imagining the cold. In film, I am in a cold place, and it really boosts certain parts of that performance.
Performance.
I
Yeah.
have done stunts. What I don't end up enjoying about screen as much is the highs are much higher and the lows are much lower, and it becomes a little difficult to keep. So like when Life Sahi came out, it was a huge hit.
Right.
um, and this kind of predates web series as a concept, because
Yes. Yes.
2016 we weren't using the term web series
That was
as
on
much
YouTube, was
on
it? Yeah,
YouTube.
right.
And our first episode in 2016 or 15 was the ninth most watched episode, ninth most watched video on YouTube in India,
Wow.
across all videos, so including your cat videos, your baby videos, your whatever those popular genres are. For episode 1, The Buy, as it was called, was the ninth most watched. It was in the top 10 of YouTube India. Right?
Wow.
That was a very weird time. Again, this is pre-Instagram really being what it is today. At that time, having 3,000 followers was considered celebrityhood,
Yeah, sure,
or
sure.
10,000, whatever. I got recognized at Bangkok airport. I got recognized at Turkey airport. I got recognized, all Life Sahi fans. I have other actors who went and got recognized elsewhere. And it felt like this is that turning point that's come. But it wasn't, because we still weren't necessarily getting called to read for things. There was still a lot of auditioning happening, and I was not enjoying the process as much. There was a lot of friction happening, not just within Life Sahi, but just generally with casting people. It was also a very weird time where I felt like now I have taken one step forward, and there'll be slightly more open-ended conversations. That didn't happen. So I receded from the idea, and I was not, like I said, enjoying, and I was enjoying theater a lot more. Getting into a room felt like a therapeutic experience, as opposed to getting into a casting room felt like an assault.
Actually,
That's
one of the things that Saha and I have spoken about is how different our experiences
Has
have
been.
been within very much the same industry. And I'm not talking about theater. I'm talking about within the film industry, because whether or not I have gone around announcing that that this is the family that I'm from, which I never did. Even then, uh, some people knew who I was related to, and so therefore maybe they naturally tended to take care of me a little bit more.
And do you agree with what he's saying in terms of, like, work on screen, the highs and the lows are that much, there is the contrast is much higher. Do you agree with that? Is that something that you found yourself facing as well?
I mean, I don't know if I think about that that much. I think I'm very wary of the highs and the lows because I've seen famous people within my family interact with fame, let's say. So I'm very wary of what happens when people know who you are.
Right.
And I think I tend to naturally withdraw from that.
But I mean, it's inevitable that some popularity has resulted from that.
Some, but honestly, up until now, I don't think that maybe the kind of work that I've done, the way that all my characters maybe look different than I am, uh, people have not made that connection.
really?
Yeah. People have watched my
Except recent, like
except for now in Made in Heaven, people have
Right.
not been able to actually realize that the person associate the person on screen with the person that I am in real life. So people actually come and tell me that they've seen Monica or My Darling and have no idea that I was in
In
the
it.
film.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. So, and that has happened with every single one of my projects up until Made in Heaven.
Where
So,
they're clocking
yeah, Made in Heaven is the first time that people have actually walked up to me and said, "Oh, you were in Made in Heaven. I
absolute
really liked
strangers
it."
are also now.
how do you feel about that? How are you dealing with the popularity?
I mean, I wouldn't call it popularity because I don't think that it has.
Recognition. There is,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
more,
like it.
more than 5 years ago. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
I like it. I like that people are seeing my work and liking my work because that's what they're talking about. I'm wary of the fact that when it continues, I don't know how much I will enjoy it. When it turns into something,
day.
when it turns into, I find it to be a bit of a monster. And I think that fame has I think fame turns into a monster. And I don't think I'm
As
very
in, you can't
excited about
choose
that.
between the good and bad of the fame. So
I think
yeah,
it
sure, but
leaks
so here's
into.
the thing again, and this is something interesting that I've asked actors particularly, and it actually comes up more with actresses for that matter. So I mean, just like you all have had very different experiences with people in the industry, you two are very different when it comes to the way that you all deal with, say, social media.
yeah,
Okay, like
well,
Or
as far
everything.
apart as
as far apart as possible. Like he's a recluse on social media. He promotes when the production tells him to promote.
yeah, when
So
there's
suddenly he
contractual
appears
obligation.
to do Shurveer and all of that. And you're very active.
Yeah.
Do you one, why are you so far away from it? And two, when you know that there is a susceptibility of it kind of turning into, quite a, it has a downside,
Yeah.
but you have chosen to be, quite active on it and quite, interactive on it as well.
Yeah.
So that's a conscious decision and
That is a conscious decision. I try to make sure that I am as close to who I am as a person on social media as possible. And that means to me things like putting photos up that are unedited.
Right.
Or if it's a professional photo shoot, then making sure that nobody has thinned my body down.
Sure.
Like, my arms, they constantly make them this tiny.
you've dealt with that.
I've dealt with that.
Right.
Where I think that's what people ask for. That's what ends up happening. So people just edit it because they're like, everybody wants it anyway. And I have had to call up and be like, no, please, can you make my arms the size that they actually are? This looks weird on my body. So when I interact with social media, which I do, I think I do it in a way so that there is some kind of a real thing that people are consuming on a daily basis. I think I want for people to know and be aware of the fact that people that you think of as famous and popular are also human beings. So I think that is also one of the things I do with my Instagram is I try to be as close to who I am as possible on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And just before you tell me about your take on it, you identify mostly. I know you do a lot. You do lots of other things. You bake bread for one, and you wear many hats in that sense. But do you identify most as an actor?
Yes, which is why. So whenever someone says, it's always an interesting, depending on the person that I'm talking to and the time that we both have. When someone says, "What do you do?" I always start with, I'm an actor primarily for stage, but I also, and then depending on the
So you identify most as a theater actor,
Theatre
for,
actor,
for,
yes.
for that matter.
Yes.
And hence, when you're talking to me about your take on social media,
Yeah.
do you think that in today's day and age it has become mandatory for someone who is an actor to have a presence or not?
in my perspective, yes.
Right.
And when you say mandatory, also in my head with a almost negative overtone,
Right.
where it's not that if you have it, it benefits you. Inspiration lies in that job. in the social media popularity. I
Right.
want to so that it'll enable, and I really wish it was the other way around. I wish I was going out there meeting directors, meeting creators, content creators, sketch artists, whatever it is, getting cast, and then through the popularity getting a following or a fandom of some sort.
Right.
In many ways, that's what stand-up people experience. It's their stand-up that gets them that followership.
Right.
In screen acting, it seems to have become the other way around.
other
Now,
way around.
because if market forces, economic forces, powers that be, who decides what, I'm again, this is not a rant or sour grapes. It's just that at least how I see it, I don't enjoy it from that perspective. I'm much happier than wearing the few hats that I do wear, making sure that I can make my monthly bills.
And as performers on stage or on screen, how do you all deal with criticism?
Well, like not social media, you're saying
No. I'm talking about like
people that have watched it,
Yeah,
people
yeah,
that I know.
yeah.
I for the last few years at least, I've been trying to cultivate an idea that I try to not use the term he, she, they are a good actor or a bad actor. I think everybody has a performance that has worked and maybe not worked, and in stage that becomes even more pertinent because it's a day that has worked and a day that has not worked. So in that sense, I put myself in that also, and I don't want anyone to say that I'm a great actor, period, because I will have great shows or great performances in a camera thing, and equally I will have weaker moments where something didn't work, something was not afforded to me, or I didn't afford the time and patience needed to do that. So whenever criticism comes, if it's someone that I am looking for validation from, like a director for instance, or a co-actor, then I will process it almost mathematically, saying, okay, next time these are the things I must be careful of. If it's coming from random, as in by random I mean like people that are not involved in the process, people that watched it, people that are well-wishers, friends, family, strangers that have decided I want to comment on this, then it goes into a like very quickly refreshed bin in my head, that I will not necessarily
process,
process it, in the sense of it will not affect how I approach it the next time,
Sure.
given a next time. So I think from people that I want to hear, I will sit down and like I'll find a little minute with them and be like, okay, what do you think worked, didn't work? And I'm usually very averse to being told this was great or this was bad.
Right.
Tell me what didn't work, what worked, and so that I can then, I will still not take your advice.
I also feel like I take my criticism from my director and nobody else.
Okay.
I think that my director is the one with the vision, and is the captain of the ship, and is the storyteller in a way. So when even if somebody else is giving me a response and feedback, I would direct it through my director and be like, what do you think?
Right.
That is, you are the one that's directing me.
Sure. You've spoken a lot about differences in your approaches. There's a couple of commonalities that I wanted to discuss. One, of course,
In our approaches,
no, we spoke about how you're different on social media and different
Or
experiences.
find the commonalities in us.
Finding the commonalities among the two of you. I'm aware that both of you have a soft spot for musicals.
Yes.
Is one,
Yes.
and particularly Hamilton.
Yes.
I'm not going to ask you to sing,
Damn it.
but another thing that I've noticed that both of you have done, maybe less in your case and more in your case, is both of you have actually had an opportunity to do theatre for children.
Yes.
And I just wanted, and that's something that we don't talk about very much. And you've done a fair amount of it, and you've done some of it as well. And in whatever work you've done on stage, there's a very distinct, like, I mean, you've done a play with me for kids, and what changes in the approach when you're actually doing a play for children? Is there anything that you'll do differently? Do you all as actors do anything differently when you're doing a play for children?
For me, again, I'll just speak from like I did in the Cat House back in the day. I did something called Cycle Wala Michael, which was
Captain India, which blew her mind.
Captain
so-
India. Well, so
which I don't remember him from at all.
Yeah.
Had a
Blew
good
her mind enough
guitarist
for
theory,
10 years
so-
later, it making huge life changes. But what I feel about children theatre or theatre for children, whether it's in the grips or whether you're not necessarily playing kids, but you're adults, but you're telling children stories. And I think in my first few years, I did that a lot more, building up till Special Bond Part 3.
Yes.
And then it kind of tapered. I also got much older and started doing other things. But it always felt like with children, the margin of error is simultaneously higher and lower. I can make mistakes on stage and they will not care. But if I drop the ball, if the energy is low, if I'm not feeling it, if I'm not entertaining them at that point,
Yeah, I
then I
agree
will
with
lose
you.
them.
Yeah.
And in that, the quintessential play for me was what was called Cycle Wala Michael. So Cycle Wala Michael, in a sense, was just me on stage for a very large chunk of the play,
Yes,
with
yes.
other characters coming and going, but with direct interaction with them, where they are seeing the Michael in themselves also going on this global journey almost on his cycle. And it was a journey through imagination, through time and space and all of that. And it used to always feel very exhausting to finish a show. Like I would literally be in pieces, throat would be gone because of the amount of yelling over them that needed to be done, but also at the same time being absolutely satisfied with what had just happened, because the kids, there are no filters. So if they love it, they will tell you they love it. If they hate it, they will tell you they hate
They
it
tell
without
you, yes,
mincing any
absolutely. Did
words.
you ever watch that show? Do you
No,
see
No.
Saha?
no.
No, I. This is something I've always said. I've said it a little differently. I've always said that kids are the easiest audience while being the toughest audience.
Yes,
So in
absolutely.
that sense, like if you've got them and you're playing to their imagination. I mean, honestly, when we did Special Bond,
Yeah.
there was this whole concept that people used to talk about. There were two things that I was severely against. One was talking down to the kids,
Yeah.
and the other was
Or
that
talking
they,
dumb to them.
yeah, and the other was that you have to create these kind of imagery where you've got to spend a lot on terms of your production. I was like, no, here. There were blocks of wood on stage. If I call it a swimming pool and I believe it, they'll believe it. If we
Absolutely.
call it a mountain, they'll believe it. So that was the easy part. But like you're saying, dropping the ball is, and what has your experience been in terms of, is there anything you change, any shift that happens?
I not consciously,
Right.
at least, no. And
Besides not using any bad language.
besides not using any bad
So,
language, but
yeah.
that is not in my, it's not in my script, right? So then I wouldn't anyway. Uh, um, no, I think that at least with the one children's play that I have done, uh, it was actually just so much fun that that's what I did.
But
I had a lot
within
of
that, you
fun.
actually, if I remember correctly, you've played the character of a mother and you
Yeah.
also played the character of a young girl.
Yeah.
And in terms of that, what do you have to keep in mind, for example, when you're playing a child who is much younger than you? Because that's what they're going to connect with, right? I mean, you're playing to their age and you're twice their age.
Yeah.
So,
Um, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't think so much of the audience when I'm prepping my work.
right,
I was only trying to figure out what kind of young girl I wanted to play.
right.
So I was only trying to figure out how to make her as real and as three-dimensional as possible. I was not actually at all thought about how people are going to, or
Perceive it.
kids are going to perceive it.
Sure.
Yeah.
What are you passionate about outside of this life that you live?
I am I call myself a mental health enthusiast,
Right.
which people find a funny term, but I think that actually very accurately describes.
You're
I'm
enthusiastic about mental
enthusiastic
health.
about mental health.
But
I mean,
talking about it and
about
discussing
not just
it.
talking about it, about even exploring it for myself, about having conversations about it, about spreading awareness. I am very enthusiastic about this. Um, Through that, I have had multiple different things. So like I started doing Bharatnatyam maybe 2.5 years ago, and now, yeah. And
Sure.
that has come out
I
of
mean,
a.
I'm married to a psychologist who does Kathak, so I am sure.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so
So
yeah.
there's a correlation. No, but that is Bharatnatyam is something that came out of a lot of introspection.
I see.
It's a dance form that my dad had told me that I had to go to classes when I was like 12 or 13, and I was completely uninterested. And then once I grew up, I realized that I did 2 years of Bharatnatyam and I learned zero things. I don't even remember it. And that was a huge regret because I could have been, had this
Used,
skill.
harnessed it a little
I
bit.
could
So
have, not even not even for my performance, but as a different facet of my being.
just a
I could have
discipline.
had
Yeah,
this
yeah.
and I didn't. And that was something that maybe I carried a lot of regret from that subconsciously. So it's something that I've actively pursued now because of that. So I'm incredibly passionate about dance. I love music. I have started writing in the last 9 months. So now I write poetry, which I'm incredibly passionate about.
Wow. Right. So I'm gonna now move kind of to the whatever the rapid fire section. Sure.
How does this work? You'll ask something and either of us has to
No,
jump
no,
up
you
and
both
answer.
have to
We
answer.
have
It's
to
not. It's
jump
not. We're not a competitive.
No,
There's no
my
hamper.
latent capoeira will
There's
kick
there's
in.
there's no hamper here.
Oh.
There's no
My
buzzer
anxiety
here.
will
So
kick in. Huh?
yeah. So no, none of that. Each of you, both of all these questions, you have to. Both of you have to one at a time. So whoever is ready with an answer first can go. And okay. So as this is purely as actors, as actors who are a few of your inspirations
Are we talking stage, screen, doesn't matter.
as craft
One of the people that I have always really looked up to and enjoyed watching is Arshad Varsi
on screen.
on screen. Yes. Uh,
Actually, do one on screen and one on stage, so
Excellent.
then it helps. So yeah,
Excellent.
so
So stage, I would screen
And
definitely. I
why?
would say.
And you have to say why.
I think he's one of the few people that when he smiles, his eyes smile every single time. Like
It's
there
not
is,
just because you're about short that you kind of.
well, maybe it's we'll have to like analyze me through Freud's perspective for that, maybe. But like I've always found him extremely endearing in serious, in comedy, in drama, in whatever. Like he feels like somebody I want to be as an
Nice.
actor. Choice of, as not choice or lack of choice of work, whatever his journey has been. But like I love what he's done, and I would love to see myself as a potential future replacement for him. Let's
And
just
on
say that's it.
stage?
On stage, I've enjoyed watching a lot of people, but I there's something really magical about watching Sid Kumar. Maybe because I've worked with him so much. So again, I don't think I don't see myself in those bits. But again,
No one can.
Yeah,
It's just.
yeah.
How do you bottle that?
But in many ways, there is a switch that flicks in him, because I will be backstage chatting with him, and then he will take an entry, and he will have transformed
And
in
there'll
just
just be a.
yeah,
You
and
don't-
he's
and he'll
gone.
go away, yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't know how he does that. It's beautiful. So he's really he's a treat to watch always for me. So again, inspiration, yes, but not necessarily as somebody I want to emulate.
Yeah. But just
somebody
in
I
terms of.
absolutely, yeah.
How about you?
I think that I mean there are so many people, but maybe the three people that I know that I have watched and I have felt like shit. I wish that they do something that I wish that I could do. Dheer Hira,
Yes.
Abhishek Chauhan, and Shivraj.
Vaichal. Okay.
Yeah, these are three people that I find. I mean, I've worked with all three of them, and I think maybe less from actually seeing them on stage and more from being in a rehearsal room
Right.
with them. I was really enamored by the seriousness with which they take their craft, but also I don't know, they seem to do something which I find almost magical in a rehearsal room. These are people that have actually in a rehearsal room. I have been like, okay, now I want to double down and then for Saha to do like 8 hours of lines with me.
Lines, nice.
I have rehearsed more meticulously for Zayn's parts than I have for
Than
my
for
own
yourself,
parts
yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, I never remember names when anyone asks me to think of a name. But we've just been watching the Lord of the Rings
The series.
trilogy of
The
the last
original
couple of
The
days.
films, okay. Yeah.
And every single one of those performances has in the last 3 days blown my mind. So now I'm only in my head replaying all of those performances, Elijah Wood and Sir Ian McKellen's performances in my head, and just going, how do I do that?
Well, that's an interesting choice. Wow. Yeah. Nice. What are your favorite performances of each other and why?
Oh damn it, each other. I was so ready to
I
tell you
have
what are
to.
my own
I already
preferred-
know.
Your favorite
mine.
performance of his
Yeah.
and why?
Well, two. One is in the Kite Runner, and the second is in Foyze's play, Strictly Unconventional.
Right.
I told you that I loved him in Kite Runner. The minute I saw it, I was just heart shattered.
Because he was a little boy who
He
got
was
violated.
big. Yeah, I mean, no, but he played that little boy so well, and I think he disappeared into that. And then also maybe because I'd seen him in this, in complete contrast to that, playing this old, withered, grumpy man, and also disappearing entirely into
Into
that.
that, yeah.
So these are my two favorite of his performances that I cannot pick between.
My favorite Zayn performance that I absolutely fell in love with was Feels Like Ishq. Like
Right.
it felt so, again, I find it marvelous when you see, especially on screen, when you see somebody who's so far removed from who they actually are.
Right.
So whether it's from a lifestyle perspective, look perspective, age perspective, any of those, right? And the girl in Feels Like Ishq was so not Zayn, and I don't think most other people will realize that. And on stage, though, I think I've enjoyed like her. I've enjoyed watching her in stand up. I've enjoyed watching her in the Sid Kumar play that you guys.
Verdict.
No, the children's play.
Oh,
What planet are you
What
on?
planet are you on? There was something, again, it was personal maybe, but there was something magical about watching her in Under the Gypsy Moon, which is a play that both of us were in, but like just about, like, which is why
We were
when,
both in it.
yeah, but very
but-
strangely,
but-
not really.
Adyan
No,
play,
yeah.
Yes, but
No,
not,
but not
really.
really.
Because she was playing a really small part, like one entry.
I was
Woodley's
doing a lot
girl.
of background.
while I
Yes.
was playing Argya's part, and then otherwise she used to be a more important character.
No. I was generally doing a lot of the background roles.
But you
I was
didn't.
part of the chorus,
You
basically.
you were the rose girl when I was doing the show.
Yeah.
So there was that one moment where the three of them very cute, seductively walk up to me, and then she's the one that hands me a rose. If I remember.
Yes, I
correctly.
remember this
Yeah,
moment actually.
because you
yeah.
stepped in
So-
for 2 shows?
One show.
For one show, for Arghya.
No, 2 shows, one day.
Yeah,
Correct.
for Arghya.
So I mean, disastrous for me because like there was a very difficult play to just jump into. But that moment of her to almost choreography walking on stage is like embedded in my head as a great performance because I shared it maybe.
Yeah, I think so, because it didn't do anything. I just
Sure.
walked towards you in
But
slow
like otherwise,
motion, Abhishek.
otherwise like Verdict also I really enjoyed watching. I mean, I give her feedback a lot on all of these things, which is
Voting and stand up just plays where she's kind of playing a dirty person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
yeah, I'm like really loving it. Also.
yeah,
See.
so no, I get what you're saying, but see, for me also Kite Runner, for example, I think that and you know why it's a weird balance because he's played a kid on stage a lot, but not in a play for adults.
Yeah.
And I think there's a fine line that you have to kind of go there because adults will not accept the same child
No, they
as
won't.
say children will.
Okay.
So that's a weird kind of mix, and I think him and Nippon actually managed that for those portions really well.
Yeah.
And that was great. And no, I get what you're saying about this because I in fact recently told her that I really liked her in Monica, Oh My Darling, because I thought that uh, it's very hard to remain subtle in a film that isn't.
Yeah.
It's very hard when everything around you is being played up for a reason.
form.
I really enjoyed the film as well, but I mean, like, it was just, there was something just very, it was a calming kind of influence. And I
Yeah.
don't know in life if she's a calming influence. So
But that
I
would
don't
actually
think she
be
is. So,
that would be my
so
one criticism of myself.
that
Which
you
is
felt
why
like you didn't fit
no, is that I tend to do that. So, which is why maybe right I'm obsessed with Sir Ian McKellen and Elijah Wood's performances, because I'm like, how do you keep the reality but tone the drama up to 100?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I've got two more questions for you. An Indian production that you saw on stage that you were not involved with that blew you away.
Till a certain point in time, Shikhandi was that for me, but now I am.
In
Then
it.
I stepped in.
Yeah.
Eventually.
And now it's not that good?
No, it's
Okay.
amazing,
So, okay.
but it's not a stranger anymore. It's not like how
Yeah,
the fuck
yeah.
now I know how they do
But
it.
as in when you saw it, you were an outsider to
And
it.
I was blown entirely by it. So 100% that comes to mind immediately.
Interesting. My answer was also Shikhandi.
We also saw it together. It was one of
Oh,
our
yeah.
first dates.
Yeah. So
Well, good for Foyze, I guess.
yeah,
But
Shikhandi.
So-
I remember seeing that and going, shit, I really want to work with this person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last question, and it's kind of two things, and I think both of you have. So on stage and screen, so it's two pronged. What have been your personal most fulfilling performances? And fulfilling, I don't mean best necessarily, but I mean fulfilling.
For me, Kite Runner goes like, so whenever I talk about screen versus stage, right? That's what I said at the
Kite
beginning.
Runner is a good play because the Adyam play, so great promotion happening here.
But the stage for me has always afforded me the idea. Like I said, so I played African American, I've played a 9-year-old, I've played a 95-year-old, I've played a Pashto violated boy on stage in a play that's deeply troubling. And again, I like to boast about the fact that I was also the titular role. I was the Kite Runner.
Sure.
I was the story. And the impact that had on an audience. It's one of the only times I've done other plays where there's a little bit of crying happening, smiling happening, laughing happening. There were moments of silence during Kite Runner where there would be sniffling only
Yeah.
from the audience. And it was a
Yeah.
big audience. It was not a tiny room.
Yeah.
So there's 800 people sitting in front of you all going,
I remember
Or
her and-
openly
her and-
bawling.
her and
I was
Mithila-
openly
Her
bawling.
and Mithila walked up out of the show wrecked.
yeah.
Her, Mithila and Dilshad, I think.
Ira
walked in. It was
was
just
out.
like-
Ira left
Ira left
halfway
before-
and sat outside,
Waited
waited
for-
for the play to finish, but refused to come back for the second
And
half.
before the deed happens, Ira
Nice.
left because she
No, no,
said,
no.
I knew it was building up to
Oh,
that and I
she said,
couldn't watch
oh.
it. I didn't know if I could watch it. And there was my favorite story always is during our run in Bombay only, obviously. One girl came,
Always a girl.
20-something-year-old.
Okay.
She came
Age appropriate,
in
fortunately.
convulsions, like she could not stand. So like I actually at some point held her elbows like that because she was like falling physically backstage at NCPA, right? South
Tata,
Bombay.
JBT.
JBT.
Yeah.
And so while I'm holding her, she's trying to get the words thank you out and she's struggling, right? And then she calmed a little, she's still sniffling, and I said, okay, hi, my name is Abhishek. And she gave me a name, I can't remember. She was a Sri Lankan film student who just happened to be traveling through India at this point and happened to see the fact that there's Kite Runner and came to watch. And she again said that watching this has brought all my own trauma back in many ways, but has also given me a deep sense of satisfaction that I've chosen the right line of work, that I want to be an
Nice.
actor.
So on stage, Kite Runner, so I score over Foise after all that praise that you
Yes,
said. Right?
absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
and on screen?
On screen, I think
Shurvi?
Shurveer for me, but it'll always, I think, be the recent most because of the immediacy of it and the things that I'm getting to do.
And because you were
Also
shooting
the-
near Putin's family.
Yes,
Hey,
that was
but
excellent.
also the amount of work that you put in for Shurvi, I
Put
feel
in,
like you
yeah.
had so much.
That's a better way to
I
put it.
feel
Yes.
like you had so much fun.
No, so like I said, I don't like to talk about process too much because to each their own and whatever works. But like for Shurveer, I genuinely, I think, digested volumes of what para commandos go through.
Nice.
I
nice.
didn't necessarily physically manifest all
Manifest
of it,
that, yeah,
but I
yeah,
did
but at
go
least you
for.
went through
I used to
the-
go cycling with a 10-kilo
Nice.
weighted vest, like on Pali Hill. Least I can do, or go for long walks with a vest. It let me do a lot of those things. The director Kanishk also let me do things in shots where I said, this is, you've got your understanding, but this is what a para commando might say. I have friends, what do these badges mean, what does this particular handgun mean? All of that being put into application makes it a lot of fun. So again, maybe it's fulfilling for sure. Maybe it's not the most, I am not the most known character from that show, but what
Sure.
I got to do in tandem with what my director let me do, absolutely 10 on 10 for me.
Is it getting another season? Is that
Yeah,
happening?
there is talks of another season. We'll know when we know.
So in film, I think initially Feels Like Ishq was my favorite, Shahana, because I actually, considering how far away she is
From
from
you,
my
right.
from my day-to-day reality, she came to me very naturally.
Nice.
But more recently, I played a part where I think I was more confident as a performer, and I was tripping myself less. I was getting less and less in my way. I was allowing myself to play a lot more. And I had these like chunks of Hindi dialogue that were more formal. It was very court language. So that to me was incredibly fulfilling and exciting.
And you're not going to tell us what it is.
It's a show.
so,
It's a show that I did.
like you
I
ca-
just
like you
did.
can't tell us what
Yeah,
it
I
is.
mean,
Okay.
I don't know if anyone cares particularly, but I don't want to piss anyone off.
We got to look out for your most fulfilling performance on screen now, I guess.
Yeah, it was really fun because I feel like I pushed myself really, really, really hard on learning that kind of language,
Right.
and then trying to make that kind of language as natural and as like filled with reality as possible.
Nice. And on stage?
On stage, I feel like my most fulfilling performance is yet to come.
Nice. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
That's-
Damn it.
Because
Can we edit mine also? Yeah, that.
No, you said something
but-
nice about me. It's staying,
No,
bro. So,
for screen I was going to say.
Okay, yeah.
Yet
yeah.
to come.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't say live sahi hai, so I mean,
Then-
that's a
Again,
step,
popularity
so-
was not necessarily what I was looking for.
no,
but yeah, fulfilling yet to come.
yeah,
is,
I feel like where I've reached right now with what I was able to do with this show, I feel like I want to be able to do that on stage with this renewed maybe comfort and excitement
Of the self.
with myself.
I mean, considering most of our stage work has been with me, this is quite a crash down to like the ground floor.
No.
which is fine, which is
Maybe
fine.
I'm telling
I'll
you that I
cope,
want to
I'll
work
cope.
with you. Like
I'll cope. I'll get through it, guys. It's fine. I'll take what I get.
Stop bringing yourself
So-
into her narrative.
Into my own podcast.
Yes.
But yeah, that was great. Thank you, Saha and Zayn, and that's wonderful. And it was lovely having you here.
Thank you for
Thank
having
Thank you
us.
very much.
Hi, I'm Zen,
Hi, I'm Abhishek.
and we had so much fun on the Adyam podcast.
Unscripted with Akarsh Khurana, talking about our lives and our careers. You can listen to this on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Binge Pods, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
And don't forget to follow Adyam on Instagram and subscribe to their YouTube channel for further updates.